Let's learn about cardinal directions and relative directions when we are talking about blocks and coordinates inside Minecraft. Hello everyone, this is Ali Reza. Welcome to the Mentor Code Lab. In the next few episodes, we will talk about one item that will do things or a command that will do things, and later down the road when we are talking about sided inventories and direction properties, we are referring to how the block is placed in the world relative to a looking direction from the player. Things become confusing as we go forward, and I never had seen anyone talk about this as a tutorial. This is why we are covering this as a tutorial before going forward into anything else. As we all know, Minecraft has four directions that we can look toward it. To make things easier, and I suggest that you do it for yourself. When we are working with Fabric, we can put mods on the Run mods folder and we can play our game like any modded version of the game. I added MiniHot as a mod, but MiniHot needs Malilib, so I added both of these jar files into mods folder under Run. And if I turn on my HUD, you will see that with tweaking parameters of MiniHot inside mods coming down, MiniHot, first of all, under generic, I made the font scale to 0.8. Now I can increase it to something like 0.9 or even 1.0 if I want to. And the next thing is that under info lines, I turned off everything and I just kept info facing. This way I can take a look at the facing of the player. Right now, player is facing east. Now, if you hit F3, you can see that, of course, my player is facing east. And it says toward positive X. Means that if I take note, there is a small indicator in the center. The red one is the X axis, the blue one is the Z one, and the green one is Y. So when we are facing east, we are facing toward positive X. When we are facing toward north, we are looking at negative Z, and so on and so forth. Basically, MiniHot is helping you understand this easier instead of going into F3 and take a look around. So right now, when you are facing north, you are looking to negative Z. When you are facing west, you are looking at negative X. When you are facing east, you are looking at positive X direction. And of course, when you are looking at south, you are looking at positive Z. When you are looking down, you are looking at minus Y. And when you are looking up, you are looking at positive Y. Also, take note, if you are looking at down or up, in both scenarios, your left and right, up and down, will be related to X and Z. I'm not covering this inside the cheat sheet because honestly, I think it's really hard to forget this one, And basically, it depends on how you rotate your character in all directions. You are looking at the X and Z plane. However, you can't have a relative left and right because your character may rotate. And also, when you are looking at up direction, again, you are looking at X and Z as a plane of crossing your looking direction. So don't forget that. However, when we are talking about the relative position of your blocks, right now, I put this block when I was facing north, means that I was looking at negative Z. So if at any time I add this facing as a property to a block, and we will talk about it a few episodes later, don't worry, that facing will be north. However, we have some directions related to this block. This block has something on its left On its right, also it has a front face that is looking at this direction. Basically, if I put a wood block, this is the front and this is the back of this block. Same goes for this one. This is the front, this is the back, this is the left, this is the right. For this one, this is the front, this is the left, right, and of course, back. Finally, front, left, right, and back. However, if we take note, this block was facing north, okay? Now, the back of this block would be a negative z going one block ahead. So we are moving one block into negative z to get the back side. Of course, we will get a block in the positive z direction to get the front. Otherwise, we can say we are facing south to get the front of this block. For the left, we should look at west, or actually we should go -1 on x to get the left, and we should go +1 on x, or in other words, looking at east to get the right. Things change when you are facing west, because now to get the left side, you should look at south and go +1 on positive z, and -1 on the z, or looking at north, to get the right side. And of course, if you want the front, you should look at east or go +1 on x, and for the back of it, you should look at west and go -1 on x, and so on and so forth. This can be confusing, and people may forget which one was the right, which one was the left, and how should I move on each axis to get myself into the proper location of a block. This is why I made a cheat sheet inside the main Java file of the mod. So in other words, if we go into the main Java, now we have this facing cheat sheet region. Opening it, I have some comments. So normally, when your block is looking north, it's looking into negative z direction. And these are the relative directions for the block, and so on and so forth for south, east, and west. However, if we look at a block pose, let me do a little bit of cheating here. So we say block pose equals to any new block pose, okay? No, we don't want that. So if I say pose.offset, now I can use the info on this cheat sheet. For example, let's say that we know that our block in this pose is looking at north. So if I want the right side, I know that I should go +1 on the x. So if I say 1 on x, 0 on y, and 0 on z, and remember the offset is returning another block pose, so now I get the block at the right side of my block. Or if I go with -1 on x, I'm getting the one at the left side. If I go with positive z, so if I get with 0, 0, 1, I'm getting the block that is in front of this block. And of course, -1 would be the block on the back side of my block. This is how you can use that cheat sheet. Another option is to use these: south, or for example, up, down, or of course, north, east, and west are just there. If you look at that, west and east. Each one of them have two overloads, one without any parameters and one that is accepting a param. If you look, it says it returns a vector which is offset by 1 in the eastward direction. So if I know the facing of my block, for example, in our case, north, and we want the block on the right side, so we know that it's east, I can simply say pose.east, and that's it. Now I'm getting the block on the right side. Or I want to go 2 blocks to the right and get that one. If I want to mimic it, in the case of a block that is looking at north direction, let's see, let's put a furnace. Right now, my furnace is looking at north, okay? So this is my furnace. Now the code, I said go into the east direction, not just one, but 2 times. And this block that I replaced with wood is the block position that will return by this code. Because I know that my block is facing north, for example. However, in case of furnace, things are different. Because when you put the furnace, and this is where people get confused, because when you place the furnace, it will rotate on the opposite direction, and now the furnace is facing south. So if I want to get a block for the furnace that is on its right side, I should think like this. I'm looking at the south, and I want the block on this side, okay? So basically, I want the block on the left side of the furnace. So south, left is again east. And if I say this block is 2 times, I'm still getting this guy. This is critical. You need to understand which face your block is facing. Is it this way? Or in case of, for example, observers, if I put an observer, now this observer is looking at this direction. Basically, the observer is looking north. So if I want the furnace, for example, I'm looking at north direction. So I will go east 2 times and I will get my furnace. But on the case of the furnace, because it is rotated to the opposite side, now the furnace is looking at south and I want that block. If I remember, when I'm looking at south, it is the left. So on the case of south, I should go left and again east and 2 blocks on the east. So it will become this wood. Things become a little bit interesting and you should get familiar with these concepts because when we are working with facing parameter and property on blocks, if you don't understand which direction is which, it becomes confusing. As you saw in the case of furnace, we said that, okay, it was facing north, so it was east. But then I said, no, the direction property would be south. And the block you want to take it is on the left. And you see that it's again east. However, you should know and you should be aware of what you're doing. If you are looking at the north like the observer, or if you are looking at south like the furnace. Remember, we were putting both of them when we were facing north, okay? And the player is facing north. However, the furnace is facing south, the observer is facing north, and now this block is on the left side of the furnace and is on the right side of the observer. So you should be careful about which direction your block is facing and what is the relative direction to the block so that you can use .east, .west, .north, .south properly to get the blocks on the proper direction. And that's it basically. So don't forget, this cheat sheet is not related to where the player is looking. No, it's about the direction that the block is facing. And it's related to the facing of the block and how you should handle that one. I will keep this inside the mod and I will update it inside the GitHub repository. And again, when I put my temp mod later with these information, I will keep this cheat sheet inside my final temp mod because each time I want to use something, I need to be careful about this. I will add something here and I will say that blocks that are facing opposite on directions on placement will have the opposite relative facing compared to the direction the player is facing. Okay, meaning that for the example of the furnace, we were facing north, but the furnace is looking at the opposite direction, so it's south, and we should use the south cheat sheet. If you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on that bell so that when I publish a new video, you will get informed. Have fun, everyone. Bye.